have a special Palm Sunday celebration that we want to share with you today. You know, this time when Christians all around the planet are joining together and really starting these celebrations of Holy Week, we are inviting you on a journey of Holy Week. You know, we began this Lenten season talking about really committing during this time of Lent to eliminating negative thoughts, to creating this life-affirming energy in our lives and to allow that to be born out of the ashes of limited thinking. And today we've prepared a reading for you that's adapted from a book by Charles Weiss called Windows on the Passion. And as we share this story, we will be inviting you to experience many of the characters that we have been talking about during this time of Lent, that were all part of the story leading up to the crucifixion and were pretty essential to that experience taking place. We've already been introduced to each of these, but for those of you who might not have been here, in your bulletin there is an insert, and on that insert is Charles Fillmore's metaphysical interpretation of each of these characters. But what I want to invite you to remember is that this is not about the characters, this is about our story, and about each of these characters representing some aspect of each and every one of us, both individually or collectively, some aspect of our own consciousness. And so today is not about those interpretations that Charles Fillmore shared with us. Today is about what's calling you, what's speaking to your heart as we share the story. I want to share a quote about story before we begin, and it's from a woman named Christina Baldwin. And in her preface to her book, Storycatcher, she states, "We make our lives bigger or smaller, more expansive or more limited, according to the interpretation of life that is our story." So may you allow the voices that you hear today touch your heart in such a way that they bring a new interpretation of your life, that they deeper your experience of your Christ self more fully, because this is your story. For those of you who might have hearing issues, I want to invite you maybe to move forward some, because the readers today will not have microphones, because we'll be moving around the platform just a little bit. So if that's a concern for you, we want to make sure that you can participate to the best of the ability that we're able to offer you. And now we present Windows on the Passion.
I am called Satan, the adversary. No one in all creation has been more misunderstood. I'm not evil. Man has projected a personification of his own faults on me. I'm not an independent power of darkness, eternally at war with God and good. God is all-powerful and moved by love. Such a contending power does not exist. I am an archangel of God, performing a divine function under divine commission. I am the tempter, the tester, God's inspector general. I do not cause evil, but simply bring it to light by providing situations in which man's spiritual strength is tried and measured. As with any other policeman, public relations is a problem. I've had very bad press. The poet Milton libeled me. Although he gave me his best lines, the characterization is false. I joy with God when men withstand my tests. Unfortunately, it has been all too easy to help men's little weaknesses prevail above their better natures. That spark divine with which at birth the Lord invests each one. Of course, I do not come into men's sight and bargain with them for their very souls. That is their way of dramatizing subjective processes. I speak to them from deep within their minds. I am the voice of their own false desires and need no other help to make them fail. Men are so foolish. Most can be broken quickly, and most of those are not too sorely tried. But those more greatly gifted, I am charged to try more stiffly, hoping that their tempers grow firm in the fire of temptation, so that they will emerge fortified and sharp, tools fit for the hand of God and ready for his purposes. Most fail. Those who cannot be bought can be perhaps distracted, compromised to aim for lesser goals, corrupted by success, or soured by resentments. And some few prove true to God, attain self-realization, and change all the world for good. My worst defeat and proudest loss was with a simple carpenter of Galilee, that Jesus, whom men have called the Christ. You've read the tale in simple telling, and in the main, the tale as told is true.
It's hard being a pygmy in a world of tall men. I was born an Orthodox Jew, of good parentage, being of the tribe and family of Levi. That is why I was named Zacchaeus, which means pure or righteous. And I was pure meanness. As a child, I always was scorned by the bigger boys and pushed around by them, and to my intense resentment. I never was anything but the outsider, never allowed to feel part of the group. Since I could not contend with them in games, I was resolved to best them all in business. I at length amassed enormous wealth, and when the Romans came to Palestine, I did not hesitate to deal with them. I sold supplies, informed, collaborated, gained their confidence, and at last was named collector of internal revenue for this, the wealthy city of Jericho. They hated me as chief of tax collectors. I, who had never known their love, hated them in turn and squeezed them more. No Jew would eat with me or cross my threshold. They dared not harm, but all avoided me. Outcast and pariah, I lived in lonely luxury, enjoyed the expensive pleasures wealth can bring. Yet all along, half ashamed, unknown to them, and in secret, I read our sacred books. I could never wholly escape the awareness of the covenant or the pull of the Torah. I had what I worked for, but desperately wanted what? Last year, just before Passover, the caravan from Galilee, bound for Jerusalem, reached Jericho. It was rumored that the prophet Jesus ben Joseph was in the company. Some thought he was the Messiah, son of David, the Holy One of Israel. Crowds formed along the way to get a glimpse of him. I was consumed with curiosity to see what he was like. Being at the back and too short to see, I tried to push through, but none would yield me room. I ran ahead, but still the crowd barred my view. Heedless of dignity, I had to go climb a tree in order to get a look in. People laughed in derision, pointed, called my name, but I ignored them. When the rabbi came, there I sat, perched in a sycamore tree, with my fine clothes tucked all around me. looking for all the world like a plump bird too fat to fly. A group of men on foot surrounding a tall, fine-looking man with dark auburn hair stopped opposite my tree. Whispers identified the man in the center as Rabbi Jesus. To this day, I can't recall his features. All I remember are the eyes. How can I tell you? They probed my soul and danced amusement at the same time. And then it happened. The biggest shock and greatest event of my life. The master looked at me and called,
Zacchaeus, make haste, friend. Come down from that tree and come here.
They came to my house that evening, and I gave them of my very best. After most of the others were asleep, I asked him, Rabbi, why did you come here?
My motives, like most men's, are mixed. Although my attitude is fixed in love. Mostly I came to you because you were interested enough in me to spurn your dignity and climb a tree. And because you wished me to come.
I cannot tell you how it was done, but I was conscious of his real concern for my soul's health and of his love for me. No one had ever loved me, unless my parents did, and I don't remember them.
Zacchaeus, though you condemn yourself, you are not evil. May your soul make the atonement it desires.
Nothing has ever been the same again. Since he came, I have done evil no more.
This one, Jesus, I knew, was fixed in his desire to do but good. There was no point or purpose in trying to make him do active evil. His firm resolve to teach men to do good by loving good. My task, to substitute a quick and easier way. This was my settled plan.
I am Judas Bar Simon, a child of the Pharisees, and educated in the Torah. But first of all, I'm a patriot. I would give my life gladly to help my country throw off the yoke of Rome. During my student days, I did join the underground and worked my way up to be a trusted lieutenant of Barabbas, our leader. I believe that Jesus is the promised Messiah, and I am the one who will bring him to power. He has the ability to make people love him, and I have the brains to make his rule really work. If he will be guided by me, I will make him a great man. Every administration needs an intriguer and a hatchet man. When Jesus comes into his kingdom, I shall be the power behind his throne, his prime minister. But he must not ever know this. He must always believe that the whole power is his, and that all is sweetness and light. It will be a joy to serve him, for he is good and wills good. And that is as it should be. I can handle the rest. It is the end. I have utterly failed. He stood for trial. He never said a word. He would not claim to be the chosen one. Barabbas was released, but laughed at me. Refusing to waste men to save the life of a Messiah who would not publicly proclaim himself and stand and fight for that which he believes. I have betrayed my Master and my Lord to save the life of one who cannot save the country that I love above myself. All is now lost. Oh, my Lord, I see, now that it is too late, that I have been led by pride, not by love. In my vanity, while striving for the right, I sought to force my God to take a quicker way. I might face the scorn of all my fellows, though lesser men. Their hearts have kept the faith, but cannot face my own. I have no use for failures. Is there no place where I can hide my shame?
He is being crucified today. The word has raced across the city. There was a session of the Sanhedrin just last night. He was haled before Pilate early this morning. He was adjudged guilty and has been sentenced to die. They say he spoke no protest, offered no defense. This is incredible, unbelievable. He was magnificently articulate, by far the greatest lawyer I have ever known. His great law was the noblest thought he spoke. I mean to take the time to think it through. He undertook to summarize the law of Moses, though within a single rule, though in two parts. For this, he picked affirmative commands, embracing all other commands. You shall love the Lord your God with unfragmented oneness, like unto his oneness. This includes in single rule the first 4 of the 10 commandments. The second half of his terse summary, to love your neighbor as your very self, contains the other 6. The problem is in loving. How can I learn love for the outsider as for self? I must identify myself with him, regard him as a brother of one Father. There is no other way. Then who am I, this self to whom he's brother? You take another look at this commandment, and what seemed 2 is seen again as 3. A man must love himself, respect his birth and status, and have learned his place in life before he has the confidence to love or wit to understand another man. It takes a surplus of exalting love to have it, to project outward from self. Most persons doubt and hate themselves so much their love's used up in reconciling self. To feel agape for the foreigner requires a soul with a confidence in self. delivered from peace with God, and consciousness of God's responding love, then can the family circle be drawn wide enough to encompass all humanity. So, man must first love himself as a child of God before he loves his neighbor as his brother. It would be foolishness, as some have said, to love God first, all others second, and self last. That is not love, but crass subservience, distilled from a sense of guilt, not love of God. This self God gave man must learn to love, along with all the rest of God's creation. The two commands, then three, are now but one. God's law and will for man in just one word. That word is love. The rabbi will be dead before dark comes. They will not let him live into the Sabbath. Before dark, I shall shock the stupid city. When they learn Joseph of Arimathea, defender of the innocent and poor, has claimed his corpse for reverent burial in his own tomb. I would I had been called to plead his case. I would to God I might have saved his life.
It is done. Thank God it is done. I have often wondered what it would feel like ever since it became clear to me that I must die. I have dreaded this moment. I do not like pain, but it was not pain that I feared the most. I was afraid that my fear might betray me and show discrediting you, my beloved Father, and what I have lived for. It is a terrible thing when men become fanatics, when they let devotion to an idea or to an institution rob them of God's presence in their lives, of their humanity and common sense. Help them, Father. They think they do right, but the eyes of their souls are shut. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I know that I am your Messiah, but surely I am the only one who believes it at this moment. Could I be wrong? And as they think me mad, my short ministry is over. None of my disciples understood. Most have returned to their homes. The fickle many who cheered in my triumph are jeering at my downfall. Have I failed? How have I succeeded? I do not know. But I am firmly convinced that I am he you promised, and your son. That you are here with me, and here in me. That the good news I have proclaimed is true. That your kingdom here on earth has dawned, and that as taught me in Gethsemane, this death is somehow needful for its birth. As was my life and message. Perhaps I am the seed that brings new life, but which must die to give it. I do not know. I do not know how you will work it out, but I know this. I have done all I can. I have given all freely. I do not ask to live it to see it work. The rest is in your hands. It is finished. Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit.
Into thy hands I commit my spirit. Thy will is my will, healing and death, so that I may glorify God. Reveal that which means to be revealed. Heal that which needs to be healed, so that I may glorify God. Into thy hands I commit my spirit. Thy will is my will, heal me at death, so that I may glorify God, so that I may glorify God.
His was a glorious triumph, a real breakthrough of the divine in human form. I don't wish you to think it was rigged. He could have failed. But glory to God, he didn't. You must excuse my enthusiasm. He may be God's son, but he's also my best pupil. I am his proud old teacher, whose examinations he passed with the highest honors. And it was a tough test, the ultimate temptation. I placed within his grasp all that the world calls good. Not to bribe him away from doing good, but to make his mission easy. He saw the falseness of the quick success. There is nothing wrong with my approach. It has served me often since. Every church since then which has arisen to bear his name and carry on his works has failed on one or more of these same tests. They put the accent on the social gospel, improve environment and there will be no sin, on miracle or magic, robes and pageantry, on music, ritual, and cathedrals grand, on pressure, politics, and legislation, on everything, in fact, except Christ's way of sweet persuasion of each single soul in love to express God's will. I often grieve and wish that they would read their master's clear rejections of my plan and follow where he leads. I have a job to do, but often wish that in it I were not so successful. However, that's life for now, for men and angels.